On April 10, 1912, the world's largest and most luxurious ship, RMS Titanic, began its maiden voyage, traveling from Southampton to New York. There were around 2,200 people on board, most of whom belonged to the wealthy class of that era. This ship was the biggest and most luxurious ship of its time. Inside the ship were two large grand staircases, a heated swimming pool, Turkish bath, electric bath, a gym, a squash court, 4 restaurants, 2 barber shops, and a library. At that time, the cost of building this ship was $7.5 million, which is equivalent to about $400 million today. There was huge excitement among passengers, the public, and the media regarding the Titanic. Traveling on this ship was a dream for people, which only the rich of that time could afford. The ship was 269 meters long and 53 meters high, and it was commanded by 62-year-old senior captain Edward John Smith. The ship was designed in such a way that it was considered unsinkable, meaning a ship that could never sink. The company that built it, White Star Line, claimed that the Titanic was unsinkable. The ship was moving toward America in the Atlantic Ocean at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Other ships present in the Atlantic Ocean sent warnings that there was a large amount of ice in this area and advised the Titanic to move carefully. But the captain ignored these warnings and continued at the same speed. 2 days later, on April 14th, 7 more ice warnings were sent, but once again the captain ignored them and kept moving forward. The ship continued its journey throughout the day, and gradually night fell. There was a crow's nest on the ship, built at a height, where a man was stationed to keep watch on what lay ahead. But that night, the sky was cloudy and there was no moonlight at all, because of which the person in the crow's nest couldn't see clearly. At around 11:39 p.m., the man suddenly spotted an iceberg. He panicked and immediately rang the bell 3 times so the people below could hear it. Then he called the office below and shouted that there was an iceberg right in front and the ship needed to be turned immediately. As soon as the officer heard this, he ordered the ship to turn left. But unfortunately, it was already too late. At 11:40 p.m., the ship collided with the iceberg. As soon as the ship hit the iceberg, several holes were created in the ship, through which water started entering. But now let's talk about why this ship was considered unsinkable. What features did this ship have that made the company claim something so big? Actually, the ship had 2 advanced safety features. First, the hull of the ship had 2 layers. That means the main body of the ship was double layered, so even if one layer broke, it wouldn't affect the ship. Second, the ship's hull was divided into 16 separate compartments. These compartments were made so that if the ship got damaged, water would not fill the entire ship. Even if 4 compartments were filled with water, the ship would still remain safe. But the iceberg struck the side of the ship, where there was only a single layer, making the double-layer hull useless. The impact was so strong that 6 out of the 16 watertight compartments were damaged. The limit was only 4, but now water had entered 6 compartments, which meant the ship could no longer be saved from sinking. At around 12 a.m., Captain Smith ordered his crew to send a distress call over the radio so that any nearby ship could come to rescue them. The crew continuously sent distress signals one after another, but received no response. About 20 minutes, a ship named RMS Carpathia, which was near Titanic, received the signal. Through the radio, it communicated with Titanic's crew and ordered its ship to turn toward Titanic to rescue the trapped passengers. However, the ship was still 107 kilometers away, and even at top speed, it would take 3.5 hours to reach Titanic. The question was, would Titanic survive for 3.5 hours? Meanwhile, the crew fired flares into the sky so that any nearby ship could see them and come to help. After waiting for some time, the captain ordered the lifeboats to be lowered to save the passengers.
But the shocking part was that the passengers still weren't scared at all. Because of the way the ship had been advertised and the confidence with which it was said that Titanic could never sink, passengers were convinced that the ship wouldn't sink. They believed that maybe there was a small issue, but the ship would not go down. They had no idea that death was waiting for them ahead. When the first lifeboat was lowered, only 28 people boarded it, even though it could easily carry 65 people. As time passed, people began to realize that the ship was actually sinking. So much water had filled the front part of the ship that the front began to submerge. When people saw that the ship was truly going to sink, panic spread, and people started fighting to get onto the lifeboats. The biggest problem was that there were very few lifeboats on the ship. There were only 20 lifeboats, which could save around 1,200 people, while there were nearly 2,200 people on board. The company believed the ship would never sink, so they didn't think lifeboats were necessary. One by one, all lifeboats were lowered, but still around 1,500 people remained on the ship. At around 2:20 a.m., the ship broke into two pieces and slowly sank into the ocean. All the people left on the ship died. RMS Carpathia, which was coming to rescue them, reached the location at around 3:30 a.m., nearly 1 hour after Titanic had sunk. When Carpathia arrived, it saw only people in lifeboats and floating dead bodies. The ship successfully rescued around 705 people from the lifeboats. After this disaster, when research was done, some shocking facts came to light. When Titanic was sinking and sending distress signals, a ship named SS Californian was very close to Titanic. It was only 37 kilometers away and could have reached in time to save the people. The same ship had earlier warned Titanic that there were many icebergs in the area. So why didn't it come to help? The reason was that the radio operator of SS Californian turned off the radio at 11:15 p.m. because the ship decided not to travel at night due to danger and stopped there. That is why no distress signal reached them. However, the crew members of Californian did see the flares fired from Titanic and informed their captain that flares were being launched and there might be danger. But the captain said that there was no danger and wealthy people were on Titanic and they must be having a party. If the radio had been turned on at that time, the outcome might have been very different.